stop whatever you are doing and listen closely, especially if you are over 60. The very vegetables sitting in your kitchen right now, the ones you have always been told are superfoods, could silently be raising your risk of a stroke tonight. I am a doctor specializing in the brain, and while this video is strictly for educational purposes and not a replacement for your personal physician, I have spent years analyzing the brain scans, the blood work, and the tragic outcomes that rarely make the mainstream health news. Stroke remains a leading cause of severe disability in seniors. It strikes without any warning. One moment everything is perfectly fine, and the next, a life is completely changed forever. But here is the most shocking revelation from my clinical experience. Certain vegetables, celebrated globally and consumed daily for their supposed health benefits, contain hidden compounds. When eaten at the wrong time or in the wrong preparation, these specific compounds may silently spike your blood pressure, stiffen your fragile arteries, and dramatically disrupt your blood flow while you are fast asleep. These foods are heavily marketed to us as healthy choices, but the hidden risks for aging blood vessels are frequently left out of the public conversation. I have sat in far too many waiting rooms with heartbroken families, knowing that a crisis might have been prevented simply by adjusting an evening diet. Today, we are going to count down 6 supposedly healthy vegetables that could be putting your brain at serious risk. You might even be planning to eat one of them for dinner tonight. Before we begin, where are you tuning in from today? Let me know in the comments below, and let us dive straight into the list, starting with number 6. Number 6 on our list might seem completely harmless. We are talking about celery. There is a hidden danger lurking inside those crisp green stalks that could be silently raising your blood pressure while you sleep. A single large stalk of celery naturally carries about 50 milligrams of sodium. 50 milligrams might not sound catastrophic, but most people do not eat just one stalk. For seniors sensitive to salt, this cumulative sodium intake can cause a dangerous blood pressure spike overnight. High blood pressure is the single biggest risk factor for stroke, responsible for nearly 87% of all cases. The science is very clear. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors with higher sodium intake had a 21% higher chance of ischemic stroke. This type of stroke is caused by blood clots blocking brain arteries. When you eat too much sodium, it stiffens your blood vessels, making it harder for them to expand. The pressure rises and forces your heart to pump harder. Over time, the inner walls of your arteries tear, allowing clots to form. Let me share the story of Edgar, a 70-year-old retired man. Edgar believed eating celery sticks with peanut butter was his healthiest bedtime snack. He laughed when his daughter warned him about sodium, but his blood pressure crept higher each year until one terrifying night. He woke up with a pounding headache and blurry vision, which are classic signs of a hypertensive crisis. Doctors told him his nightly diet loaded his system with too much salt, and celery was part of that problem. From an educational perspective, does this mean you can never eat celery again? Absolutely not. The real issue here is portion size and timing. Having a few bites with lunch is fine, but eating it nightly before bed could compound your risk. Seniors with high blood pressure should think twice before making celery part of their evening ritual, always consulting their doctor first. While celery is a hidden source of sodium, the next vegetable does not just raise pressure, it damages blood vessels from the inside. Let us look at number 5. Number 5 on our warning list might be sitting in your refrigerator right now. We are talking about pickled cucumbers. Here is a statistic that should give you pause. Seniors who consume pickled vegetables more than 4 times a week may face a 34% higher risk of stroke, according to a large study published in the European Journal of Nutrition. The innocent snack you find on almost every diner table carries a hidden danger in how it is prepared. Pickling cucumbers in brine saturates them with massive amounts of sodium. We are talking about up to 800 milligrams per serving. That is nearly half the recommended daily limit in just a few crunchy bites. For seniors over 60 who often already struggle with managing their blood pressure, this sudden sodium overload can push your system into highly dangerous territory. But sodium is not the only concern here. The pickling process often involves vinegar and fermentation byproducts, which could irritate blood vessel linings and increase chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is a silent partner in stroke development. It weakens artery walls, making them much more likely to rupture or form dangerous clots. For seniors whose vessels are already stiffened with age, this combination is like hammering cracks into an old, fragile pipe. I will never forget Alan, a 74-year-old retired bus driver. He swore by his nightly ritual of a turkey sandwich with extra pickles, saying it was his healthy, low-fat evening snack. One tragic morning, his wife found him struggling to lift his left arm, which is a classic warning sign of an ischemic stroke. In the hospital, his medical team traced his dangerously high sodium levels straight back to the foods he thought were perfectly harmless. Pickles were at the very top of that list. A recent study in the Journal of Hypertension confirmed that older adults with high sodium diets had arteries that were 32% stiffer than those on low sodium diets. That stiffness makes it incredibly hard for your blood vessels to absorb sudden pressure spikes, leaving the brain deeply vulnerable while you sleep. From an educational standpoint, does this mean all cucumbers are bad for you? Absolutely not. Fresh, raw cucumbers are deeply hydrating and wonderful for your body. But once they are pickled, they shift from a protective food to a potentially risky one, especially at night. When you eat pickles before bed, your body naturally holds on to more water during sleep, raising your nighttime blood pressure during the exact hours when strokes most frequently strike. Moderation and timing are everything here. Pickles might taste refreshing, but eating them nightly is a habit you might want to break. Have you ever checked the sodium label on your favorite jar of pickles? Let me know what you found in the comments below, because your story might help save someone else. While sodium is a dangerous hidden threat in pickled foods, the next item on our list introduces an entirely different kind of hazard. We are moving on to number 4, canned tomatoes. For decades, we have been told that a Mediterranean diet rich in tomatoes is the gold standard for heart health. But what the food industry rarely mentions is that how those tomatoes are packaged can completely reverse their health benefits. Let us look at Maria, a 69-year-old retired teacher who prided herself on cooking traditional homemade pasta sauces. She believed she was nourishing her body and protecting her heart. But for convenience, she relied heavily on canned tomatoes. One evening, she found herself rushing to the emergency room with a terrifying spike in blood pressure and severe dizziness. She could not believe that her healthy dinner might have been the trigger. From an educational perspective, it is crucial to understand the chemistry happening inside those metal cans. The first issue is sodium. Unlike fresh tomatoes, canned versions are often packed with added salt to preserve flavor and shelf life. A single cup can contain over 700 milligrams of sodium. For a senior already managing hypertension, eating a large bowl of pasta sauce at night is like pouring gasoline on a fire. The excess sodium forces the body to retain water, increasing blood volume and placing immense pressure on aging arteries. But the sodium is only half the story. The acidic nature of tomatoes causes a chemical called bisphenol A, or BPA, to leach from the lining of the metal directly into the food. Studies published in the journal Hypertension suggest that older adults with higher BPA exposure have a 23% greater risk of vascular damage. Inside the human body, this creates a perfect storm. The excess sodium stiffens the arteries, while the chemical BPA weakens the delicate vessel linings. Over time, this constant pressure against weakened walls creates an environment where a clot or a brain bleed is far more likely to occur, especially while you are resting. Does this mean you need to avoid tomatoes completely? Absolutely not. This is where we must look at food preparation through an educational lens. Fresh, raw, or lightly cooked tomatoes are incredibly healthy. They are packed with lycopene, an antioxidant shown to reduce stroke risk by nearly 19% in older adults. The danger lies purely in the manufacturing process of the canned varieties. When Maria switched back to simmering fresh tomatoes, her blood pressure readings improved within a few months. Convenience should never come at the cost of your vascular health. While canned tomatoes flood your body with hidden salt and chemicals from the packaging, the next vegetable on our list goes even further by naturally carrying a compound that can physically stiffen your blood vessels from the inside out. Number 3 is spinach. For decades, spinach has been praised as the ultimate superfood and heavily marketed as heart-healthy and brain-boosting. But there is a shocking truth about spinach that is rarely discussed. It is one of the highest oxalate-containing vegetables in the human diet. According to data published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry, a single cup of cooked spinach delivers more than 750 milligrams of oxalates. That is over 6 times more than most other leafy greens. When oxalates flood the bloodstream, they bind with calcium to form sharp, microscopic crystals. These crystals circulate and scratch the delicate inner walls of your blood vessels, triggering massive inflammation. This process is called endothelial dysfunction, making your blood vessels less flexible and significantly more prone to clotting. Over time, these crystals deposit as plaque and calcification, turning healthy, flexible arteries into stiffened tubes. Let us look at Thomas, a 71-year-old retired man who believed his daily spinach smoothies were keeping his brain young. He blended 2 cups of raw spinach every single day, thinking he was doing the right thing. Months later, he developed severe joint pain and recurring kidney stones. But the most terrifying discovery was on his medical scans, which showed tiny vascular calcifications. The very superfood he thought was protecting his health was silently stiffening his arteries and destabilizing his blood flow. From an educational perspective, it is extremely important to understand that spinach itself is not a poison. The issue is the dose and the frequency. Small portions, eaten a few times a week, are generally fine, especially if you balance them with calcium-rich foods that can bind the oxalates in your gut before they ever reach your bloodstream. But when spinach becomes a daily habit, especially concentrated in large smoothie servings for seniors, it can lead to oxalate overload. The resulting calcified arteries and blood chemistry imbalances are silent triggers that can dramatically elevate your risk of an overnight stroke. If you are finding this information helpful and want to continue learning how to protect your brain health, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss these vital educational updates. While spinach silently stiffens your blood vessels from the inside out, the next vegetable on our list raises your stroke risk in a completely different but equally dangerous way. We are moving to number 2, which is beets. For years, beets and beet juice have been heavily marketed to older adults as ultimate circulation boosters and brain foods. They are rich in dietary nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide. In younger adults or athletes, this gas naturally relaxes blood vessels and improves overall blood flow, which sounds like a wonderful benefit. However, from an educational and medical perspective, this exact mechanism can become highly dangerous for seniors, especially those already taking blood pressure medications. When you consume a high concentration of nitrates, your blood vessels open wide, causing your blood pressure to drop. If you are an older adult whose blood pressure is already medically controlled, this sudden added plunge can deprive your brain of vital oxygen. This extreme low-pressure environment can actually trigger an ischemic stroke simply because there is not enough force to push oxygenated blood into the deep tissue of your brain. Let us look at the story of Arthur, a 73-year-old retired engineer who wanted to protect his memory. His family encouraged him to drink a large glass of fresh beet juice every single night before bed, believing it was the ultimate brain food. For months, he thought he was doing his body a huge favor, but one night he woke up severely dizzy, nauseous, and entirely unable to stand. He collapsed on his bedroom floor. In the emergency room, doctors discovered his blood pressure had dropped to a dangerously low level, all directly connected to the massive dose of nitrates he was drinking right before sleep. The science backing this up is quite striking. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that older adults consuming high nitrate diets experienced an average 11-point drop in systolic blood pressure within just a few hours. This delayed effect is what makes eating beets at night so incredibly risky. Your blood nitrate levels peak 2 to 3 hours after digestion. If you drink beet juice right before bed, that massive drop in pressure happens while you are fast asleep. This condition is known as overnight hypotension, and it has been closely linked to silent strokes and long-term cognitive damage. From a strictly educational standpoint, this does not mean beets are universally toxic or harmful. They can certainly support vascular health when consumed in very controlled amounts during the early hours of the day. The core danger lies in the timing and the dosage. Seniors should be highly cautious about consuming large servings of beets or concentrated beet juice at night, especially if they are already taking prescription medications for hypertension. Always consult your personal doctor before adding concentrated nitrate foods to your daily routine, because your vascular safety must always remain the absolute priority. If you thought beets were a surprising risk, wait until you see the vegetable at number 1. We have finally reached the top of our list, and it is a food almost every health enthusiast praises. Number 1 is fermented kimchi and pickled vegetables. These fermented foods are celebrated worldwide as ultimate superfoods. They are packed with probiotics, they aid digestion, and they are absolute staples in many traditional diets. But from a strict medical and educational perspective, there is a dark side that most seniors never hear about. Fermented vegetables can raise your stroke risk dramatically, especially when they are eaten frequently at night. The scientific evidence is incredibly striking. A massive population study published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found that adults over 60 who ate kimchi daily had a 42% higher risk of stroke compared to those who ate it rarely. That is not just a small statistical anomaly, it is nearly half again the risk just from a food heavily marketed as healthy. The core danger comes from the extreme sodium levels and the fermentation byproducts. A single cup of kimchi carries 700 to 800 milligrams of sodium, and often much more depending on the specific recipe. Seniors eating multiple servings across the day can easily double or triple their daily sodium limit without even realizing it. Let us look at Eleanor, a 70-year-old retired nurse. Eleanor swore by her homemade kimchi. She ate it every single night with her dinner, firmly believing it was the secret to gut health and longevity. But after months of subtle warning signs like dizziness, she tragically collapsed during a family dinner. Her medical team linked her vascular crisis directly to her nightly diet. Sodium overload raises blood pressure, it stiffens aging arteries, and it primes the delicate vessels in the brain for rupture. Unlike fresh vegetables, fermented ones hold salt tightly in every single bite, meaning the cardiovascular effect is intense and long-lasting. Furthermore, the fermentation process creates heavy histamine loads. For seniors whose blood vessels are already fragile, the combination of staggering sodium and high histamines can drive the brain arteries past their breaking point. From an educational point of view, we must be very clear. Does this mean you must throw away all fermented foods? Absolutely not. Cultured foods offer genuine gut benefits. However, for seniors managing high blood pressure, consuming large bowls of salty fermented vegetables every evening is a massive vascular gamble. The key is strict moderation and understanding your own medical numbers. Always discuss your diet with your personal doctor, because your brain health must come first. Protecting your arteries means making informed choices and looking past the superfood labels to understand exactly what you are putting into your body. We have now reached the end of our list. Now you know the truth about 6 vegetables heavily celebrated as healthy that can silently push seniors toward a medical emergency overnight. Let us do a quick recap. We started with celery and its hidden sodium. Then we uncovered pickled cucumbers flooding your aging body with brine. We exposed canned tomatoes laced with extra salt and the chemical BPA. We learned how spinach is loaded with oxalates that can silently calcify your blood vessels. We discussed beets causing a nitrate overload that can drop your blood pressure to dangerous lows while you sleep. Finally, we revealed how fermented vegetables like kimchi deliver staggering sodium and histamine loads that can drive your delicate brain arteries past their breaking point. From an educational standpoint, the most important lesson here is that food is powerful medicine, but only when used correctly. You do not need to fear these vegetables entirely. The true danger lies in the dose, the preparation, and the timing. Eating high sodium or chemically altered foods right before bed forces your cardiovascular system to work overtime when it should be resting. I have seen patients make small dietary changes and come back with steadier blood pressure, clearer memory, and a significantly lower risk of stroke. Protect your brain because it protects your independence, your memories, and your future. Which of these 6 vegetables surprised you the most today? Do you regularly eat any of them at night? Please drop your story in the comments below because your experiences keep this educational conversation alive. If this video opened your eyes, please hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our vital health updates.